Good morning, students. So today I'm here with a new chapter that is exogenous processes and associated landforms. So here in this chapter, let us see what are the things that has been included. Like previous also we have done with the other chapter, that is endogenous processes and associated landform. So here you can see the differences between endogenous processes and exogenous processes. So exogenous are those processes which act on the surface of the earth. So you can see that endogenous process were those processes that was been acted beneath the earth's surface, but here you can see that exogenous processes are those processes which can be acted on the surface of the earth. And it also gives birth to various landforms. These includes the process of weathering and denudations and are performed by river, glacier, wind, underground water and sea waves. So here in this exogenous process, you can see that it gives birth to a various landforms. Got it? Like landforms can be in sort of like the changes what we find in the weathering changes or the denudation, and even with the performance, how this river used to perform or how this glaciers used to perform, that was been taken place when the exogenous process was been formed. And exogenous forces derive their energy from the sun. So basically they derive the energy, they get the energy direct from the sun. So here it is one more thing that has been mentioned here is like gradation. Gradation is a process of removing unevenness of the land surface and making it a level land. River, glacier, winds, underground water and sea waves are always busy in eroding the highlands and in depositing the eroded materials in the lowlands. So gradation is one of the process, got it? One of the process that has been taken place on the land surface, like it can be taken place in the form of river, glaciers, where flowing of the water gets eroded, got it? It erodes the land and it erodes the land, and some of the eroded materials can be deposited in the lowlands. In this way, the tectonic or internal forces level up and external forces level down on the earth's surface. So with the help of this process of gradation, what can you see is like you can see the changes that has been taken place beneath the earth's surface and above the earth's surface or the surface of the earth. So there you can see the changes. A surface is called graded only when the erosion and deposition by different agents of changes are almost equal. So process of this gradation on the earth's surface can only be said if the process gives you this erosion and even the deposition of the material. Only then you can see that the process of gradation has been taken place. It is clear that gradation is achieved by simultaneous processes of the following two processes. So there are two processes in this gradation. One comes the degradation and other comes the aggradation. So let us see what is the differences between degradation and aggradation. So when we talk about degradation is the general wearing away of the land surface by external forces. This is known as denudation. So you can see that degradation is being taken place. It is one of the agent or one of the process how you can see that the land surface is being affected by the external forces, after which the landforms has been affected by the external forces, that process is known as degradation. And it is also, this degradation is also known as the denudation. So the term denudation has been derived from the Latin word denuder, which means to lay bare. It includes the result of weathering, erosion, and transportation. Weathering is the process of awakening, breaking up, rotting, and disintegration of rocks on the earth's surface. So basically, when we talk about degradation agents or the process has been taken place mainly in the weathering forms, or in erosion forms, or in the transportation forms. You can see in these three things, you can see that this degradation process has been noticed, or it can be taken place. When we talk about weathering, you all are very much familiar with the word weathering, right? Weathering is like something breaking down, or like changes that occurs with the external forces, that is called weathering. Weathering is followed by even erosion. Got it? Weathering is followed by erosion, which is a process of scratching and gritting of the surface rocks. It includes removal or transportation of the weathered rocks material from one place to another. So erosion is something to be deposited, right? Something materials to be deposited, that is known as the erosion. And that erosion is taken place when the rocks are to be transported or removed from one place to another, or been washed away from one place to another. The act of erosion is performed by running water, groundwater, moving ice, wind, waves, and currents of the sea. So basically, this erosion is performed highly. It has been performed where the running water is available, right? And groundwater, and the moving of the ice is like glaciers when they melt out, right? This can cause the moving of the ice, and even in the currents of the sea. These agents use the eroded material as cutting tools to carve up and shape the landforms. So basically, this erosion, or this agents of weathering, erosion, and transportation give rise to the various landforms. It gives rise or shape. Different shapes or size can be noticed in the landscape or the landforms. Next comes the aggradation. It is also known as deposition. The material eroded by the process of degradation is deposited in the depression or lowlands, and these areas rise up. So when you see, if in a flat land, you can see that if something has been deposited for a longer period of time, it gives a different shape, right? It occupies some of the space by the deposition of the materials, right? So you can see that it gives a different shape. It also varies with the size. So aggradation plays a role of deposition. Got it? When something to be eroded and deposited in one of the areas, that process is known as aggradation. In other words, each agent has its erosive as well as depositional role in changing the landscape slowly but surely. So you can see that the landscape can be changed. The landforms, the land size or the shape can be changed when deposition of any materials or the agents that plays an important role in the deposition gives a different landscape, or the shape or the size would differ as what it was before. Interrelation of degradation, aggradation, and gradation. So there is a interrelation between these three important processes. That is aggradation, degradation, and gradations. They are very close, interrelated between aggradation, degradation, and gradations. These are three forces act collectively. So these three process or the forces are very much dependent upon each other. Got it? It is very much interlinked with each other. And the other thing is like, as for the example here, it has been mentioned that the carrying capacity of a river is more than its actual load in the mountainous region, and erosion is the main function of a river there. So basically we can see that the flowing of the river is, you have seen the flowing of the river, right? And there you can see that the deposition in the mountainous areas where you can see the highs and lows, slopes and steeps you can see in the mountainous areas, and that is why the flowing of the water or the river is according to the steeps and slope, and that is why the deposition is being taken place in a large number in the mountainous region. So that is why you can see that the erosion functioned in this mountainous areas is very large as compared to the plain areas. So next comes the weathering. Weathering is a breaking of rocks by static agents of weather. So next topic, that is weathering. So let us see what is this weathering is all about. Weathering is the breaking of rocks. It is basically the breaking of rocks. Right? It is basically the breaking of rocks that can be taken place. In this process, the rocks are disintegrated by physical forces and decomposed by chemical actions. So here, the other thing that has been mentioned is like physical forces. Physical forces, and the other thing is like chemical action. So if we have to define weathering is like breaking of rocks, got it? With the physical forces along with the chemical actions. So according to B. Spark, this person has defined what is weathering. Weathering is the mechanical fracturing and chemical deposition of rocks by the natural agent at the surface of the earth. So basically, the other thing that we get to know is like natural agents. Natural agents. So in this natural agents, you can see that it can come like weathers, climatic changes, all this comes under this natural agents. Apart from elements of weather, animal, insect, vegetations and man are constantly breaking the rocks. This is known as biological weathering, where you can see that biological weathering is also there, and that biological weathering can be defined where the involvement of the living organisms like plants, animals, human being, right, where the plantation have been taken place or the vegetation have been taken place with the help of the involvement of the human being. So that is basically known as the biological weathering. In this way, weathering are of three types. So you can see that weathering is classified into three types. What are those three classifications now? So this weathering has three classifications. Three types. or classification. First comes the physical. Second is chemical. And third comes the biological. So weathering this weathering has been divided into three types, and that three types are: first is physical weathering, second is chemical weathering, and third is biological weathering. So let us see what is this physical weathering is all about. Physical weathering is also known as mechanical weathering. The disintegration of rocks by mechanical processes is called physical weathering or mechanical weathering, following by the three main agents of physical weathering. So under this physical weathering is also known as mechanical weathering, and this physical weathering is also been divided into three subtopics and three divisions that has been taken place, that is isolation, got it, frost and this pressure release. So these are the three subtopics of this physical weathering. So when we talk about first type of weathering, that is physical weathering. And this physical weathering has three subdivisions. That is insolation. Second comes the frost. And third comes the pressure. Pressure release. So let us see what are these three sub sections of this physical has been defined. So when we talk about insolation, weathering by insolation is more prevalent in hot, dry desert areas. So you can see that insolation is basically, you can see in the hot, dry desert areas, right? And it is due to rapid change in daily temperature. And here, one more thing is important, that is temperature. Here even temperature, change in the temperature, got it? Daily change in the temperature also plays an important role in this isolation. The day temperature suddenly rises and the rock expands. At night the temperature suddenly falls, sometimes close to freezing point, and rocks contrast. So here expansion of the rock, got it? Expansion of the rock and the contraction of the rock has been taken place. Where, like as it has already been mentioned, hot desert areas you can find this isolation, right? And the other thing is like temperature. Temperature will not remain same. Got it? It changes. Daily you can see the change in the temperature. When we talk about the daytime temperature increases. Daytime increase in the temperature, right? Daytime increase in temperature. So when the increase in temperature has been taken place, automatically the rocks get expanded. The other thing is like expansion of rocks. Rocks. And at the night time, temperature decreases. Temperature decreases, and if it goes close towards this freezing point, and here you can see the contraction of rocks. So basically, when we talk about insolation, got it? Insolation, it has a characteristics with it. So when we talk about insolation, you can see that it appears, it is basically been taken place in the hot desert areas, got it? And the temperature would not remain same, it keeps on changing every day. And the other thing is, like, at the daytime when the temperature increases, you can see the expansion of the earth, this rocks, right? And at the night time, got it, the temperature decreases close towards the freezing point, and there you can see the contraction of rocks. So this is the basically what we can say is, like, it is the characteristics of this insolation. Next is the frost. Next subtopic, that is frost. So let us see the this frost's characteristics. Frost characteristics is, like, frost is very much, it is very active agent in the weathering of cold climate of high altitudes and high altitude areas. So basically, frost is active. It is active in the high altitude high altitude areas. It is active in the high altitude areas, right? And the cracks and joints of the rocks are filled with water during daytime, and this water is frozen at night time when the temperature falls below freezing point. So basically what happens is, like, here, cracks and joints, you can see that in this cracks and joints of the rocks, there is a filling of water. Got it? And at the night time, you can see that filling of water gets freezed. Nighttime freezing point of that water is been taken place, and basically it gives a different shape of it, and the volume of water increases up to 9% on freezing. So basically, when this freezing process has been taken place, the water volume is about 9%. Understood? Here I have mentioned 9%. When this freezing process has been taken place at the night time, you can see that the water volume would be reached up to 9%. So basically these are the characteristics of frost. Let me repeat it again, like frost is very much active in the high altitude areas with climate, and where you can see with high altitudes areas where the rocks, they have this cracks and joints in it, there you can see that the filling of the water has been taken place. Got it? At the daytime, filling of the water has been taken place, and at the night time the temperature decreases and like it reach up to freezing point. Got it? And like when that water has been freezed out, the volume of the water would reach up to about 9%. So these is the characteristics of the frost. So let us see another, that is pressure release. Pressure release. So pressure release, many igneous and metamorphic rocks crystallize deep in the interior under the combined influence of high pressure and temperature. When the rocks above them are eroded away, the rocks exposed there released by pressure. Due to pressure, rocks cracks are produced in the rock, leading to the disintegration. So basically when we talk about this pressure release are basically noticed in igneous rocks, igneous and metamorphic rocks. Got it? This two rocks where you can see the pressure release has been active, that is igneous rocks and metamorphic rocks, and you can see the temperature in this, the characteristics of here is like it gives a high temperature. It gives the high temperature, and due to this high temperature, again you can see that the cracks are being seen in this rocks. You can see that the cracks are produced. Cracks are produced. So in this pressure release, you can see that in this pressure release is basically active in igneous and metamorphic rocks. Understood? And where the temperature is very high, and due to this high temperature, you can see the cracks on the rocks. Understood? So these are the basic characteristics of this physical weathering. Physical weathering, it has a 3 subdivision. That is, what are those 3 subdivisions? Insolation, got it? Frost and pressure release. So next comes the next type of weathering, that is chemical weathering. So next type of weathering is known, second type of weathering is called chemical weathering. The decomposition of rocks by chemical action is called chemical weathering. The minerals in rocks undergo a chemical change by the action of air and water. The chemical reaction is rapid in hot and humid climate of the tropical zone. So basically, chemical weathering is being taken place when the deposition of rocks are to be taken place, and it undergoes with the chemical changes. That deposition of rocks, it goes under the chemical changes, like chemical changes can be taken place with the action of wind, air, got it, or water. So here again, this chemical weathering, it has a main, there are certain processes of this chemical weathering. So let us see the process of chemical weathering. The following are the major processes of the chemical weathering. So to form this chemical weathering, there are altogether how many processes? There are altogether 4 processes. So first process is oxidation. So first process is oxidation. The effect of oxygen in air and water on the rock is called oxidation. The atmospheric oxygen in rainwater unites with minerals of the rocks, especially in the iron compounds. This results in the decomposition of the rocks, and it starts crumbling. The color of rocks changes into red, yellow or brown, as we see in rusting of iron. So basically oxidation, this is one of the process of the chemical weathering, where you can see the oxygen here. Here oxygen plays an important role in what? Air, and it plays an important role in air and water. Got it? In air and water, you can see that oxygen plays an important role, and that is why oxygen, when plays an important role in air and water, is known as oxidation. And this oxidation is also, it is very much, it gives a kind of rocks that can be changed into different colors. Here in this process, one more thing is mentioned: change of the color. Change of color. Change of color of the rocks. So change of the color of the rocks can be like, what can be the colors? Red, yellow or brown. And when this oxidation process has been taken place, okay, let us make it clear that oxidation, why this word oxidation has been used is because oxygen, when plays an important role in air and water, is known as oxidation. And this oxidation even changes the color of the rocks, and color gives like red, yellow and brown. So these are the different colors that can be changed of the rocks. And even it seems like that, it seems like a rusting of iron. So it seems like rusting of iron. Got it? So this is the process. Got it? These are the different processes. These are the first process that has been taken place in the chemical weathering, where you can see that oxygen in air and water gives a change in the color of the rocks. Got it? And the color can be red, yellow or brown. Got it? And sometimes it looks like a rusting of iron. Got it? Yeah, you know what is rusting of iron. So this is the first process. So let us see what is the second process now. Second process is carbonation. So in this carbonation, when carbon dioxide mixed with water affects the rocks, it is known as carbonation. It has acidic effect and dissolves the chloroform rocks, which such as limestone, marble. The groundwater dissolves limestone in a large scale. It is estimated that carbonation lowers the level of limestone areas in wet climate at the rate of 5 centimeter per 1,000 year. So basically, carbonation word itself describes, right, where it is a use of carbon dioxide. where it is a use of carbon dioxide, and here in the carbon dioxide plays an important role in when it has been mixed with water. It has been mixed with It is basically mixed with water, and with the dissolve of the water, it gives a change in the limestone, marble. Got it? So here you can see that in carbonation, you can see that carbon dioxide plays an important role with the mixture of water in it, and when it has been dissolved with water, it gives a rise towards this limestone and marble. So this is the process, this is the second process that has been taken place in the chemical weathering. So let us see what is the third process. Third process is hydration. So hydration, when the hydrogen of water dissolves the rock, it is known as hydration. There are certain mineral in the rocks which increases their volume and becomes heavy. When they absorbed water containing hydrogen, the rock breaks due to increased pressure and their color also changes. So basically hydration, this word itself that defines is like hydrogen. Hydrogen, when it has been mixed with water, got it? It is known as hydration. And the other thing is like here, in this hydration is one more thing that has been mentioned here is like the rock becomes the increase in the volume of increase in volume of rocks can be seen because of the absorption. Because of the absorption of water in it, got it? It becomes heavy, and even you can see the change in the color. You can see change of color. You can see change of color in rocks. Hydration is one of the process, got it? Where hydrogen is, when mixed with water, it increases the volume of rocks. It basically increases the volume of rocks, and due to the absorption of this water, the rocks becomes very heavy, got it? And when it becomes heavy, it gets expanded, and that expansion gives you a change in the color of the rocks. So last process of this chemical weathering is solution now. The last process is solution. So last process is solution. The rainwater is able to dissolve certain mineral and leach the soil. This is known as solution. Some minerals like rock salt and gypsum are removed from the process of solution by water. Solution is basically the rainwater. Got it? It is basically the rainwater. And here, rainwater and dissolve of even minerals also. So basically you can see that solution is totally depend upon rainwater, and that rainwater when dropped on the earth, this land surface, you can see that the dissolve of the minerals, like soil is made up of many minerals, right? That can be dissolved and it gives and that process is known as solution. When something is dissolved with this, when some minerals is been dissolved with this rainwater, it gives a solution of it. So the other thing that the last type of this weathering can be biological weathering. So let us see what is there in this biological weathering. Biological weathering, this includes the action of animals and insects, vegetation and plants. Animals and insects. So let us see what is the relationship is there between this animals and insects. There are millions of animals and insects such as dogs, rabbit, rat, etc., which consumes large quantity of rocks and soil for making their habitats and for extracting food. This weakens the rocks and they lead to disintegrate. So basically, this biological weathering, biological word itself is basically known as living organisms, right? It is basically living organisms, and here it has been defined that there is a relationship between animals and insects. And next relation is between what? Next relation is between the vegetation and plants. Sorry, vegetation and men. Got it? So, biological weathering is all. Biological word itself means living organisms. And here in this biological weathering, you can see that there are two, this relation that has been mentioned here is like one is the animals and insect, and the other relation is between vegetation and men. So when we talk about animals and insects, there are millions of animals and insects that is present on the earth's surface. And that presence of the earth's surface is basically, it consumes, got it? It occupies some of the other space out there, right? And even the quantity of the rocks can be differed here. Why? Because like animals, what they do is like they take a place, they take a certain particular reason or a place as their habitat of living out there. Got it? And the other thing is like extracting of food. They are not served with the food, right? Basically, animals, are they served with the food? No, like they have to, they are totally depend upon the forest areas or the vegetation areas or what is available there. They are totally depend upon there, and basically they have to extract, is like they have to search for the food. And next comes the vegetation. Vegetation, the long root fibers of plants walk down into the cracks of rocks. Even roots of shrubs and trees reach deep into them and dislodge large blocks and the crypts. So basically, vegetation is not only the small plants or the small plantation that has been taken place. Vegetation is also includes trees with it. So basically, trees are not there on the earth surface, or they are totally absorbed on the beneath the surface of the earth. How? Because their roots are not on the top surface, right? They are basically absorbed. It is basically absorbed under the ground, and that is why the trees, what has happened is like plantation of a small plantation. Got it? That small plantation is basically turned into a huge tree, right? And that turning of a huge tree is not suddenly been taken place. It needs a certain period of time. And that certain period of time, what has happened is like the roots get expanded beneath the earth's surface. Got it? The root gets expanded, and when the root gets expanded, it automatically hampers the rocks beneath the surface. Got it? And that rocks, when hampered, gives a cracks on the rocks. Next comes the men. Men, we are very much, we come under that phase where we destruct. Got it? Not intentionally, but like unintentionally, we somewhere we do hamper the environment, like mining. Right? Other thing is like deforestation, which nowadays it has totally been restricted, right? And even cultivation of the lands. If one land has been used again and again, what we will lose? We will be losing the fertility of the soil of that particular land. So basically, to fulfill our needs, what we do? We basically cultivate, if suppose I have a plot of land, a very big plot of land, and that plot of land, if I utilize in cultivating crops or the vegetables, what we are doing, I not intentionally but unintentionally also I'm hampering that land, right? And what is losing? What has been loosed out here in that land is like they are losing the fertility of soil. Got it? So that is basically the role of a man, where role of a man is totally been described here is like in a very destructive manner. Got it? Mining. Got it? Quarries, right? Deforestation are not done by the animals, right? It is basically done by we as a human being. So that are the things that are the very important actions that has been taken place as a men or a living organisms, which contributes to the weathering of rocks. It basically contributes to the weathering of rocks. Now, last subtopic that has been discussed here is like agents of gradation. And any natural process which is capable of transporting the weathered rocks material is called an agent of change or gradation. Running water or river, groundwater, glacier, or moving ice are the chief agents of gradation. These agents perform the work of erosion, transportation and deposition of the rock material, and build up different landforms. So agents of gradation. Agents of gradation can be like running of water, river waters, right? Moving of the ice is like melting of the glaciers, understood? And like winds, sea waves. So these are the different chief agents that plays an important role in the formation of in the process of this gradation. And through this process of gradation, you can see that the agent would perform in the different ways, like erosion of soil, right? Work of erosion, transportation and deposition of materials. So when something has been deposited, I have already mentioned, like if something has been deposited in a empty land, it gives a different shape and size. So that is why the landform words has been associated landforms here. Word exogenous processes and associated landforms. Why it has been given is like with the help of this exogenous processes, or the forces, it gives a change. It gives a various change in the landforms. Got it? It might be in the change in the shape, or it can be change in the size of the land. So I hope that you have understood with the chapter, right? This is one of the easiest chapter, and like I've already been doing this video for a very long time, and like why I have done this chapter number 6 and I have directly jump up to this. Sorry, I have done chapter number 5, that is endogenous processes and associated landforms, and I have directly jumped to exogenous processes and associated landforms. Is why? Because the council have reduced some of the chapters. Got it? So that is why we are doing only those chapters that has been prescribed by the council. Got it? So that is why don't think that some of the chapters has been missed out. It is basically it has been reduced by the council. That is why I am doing only those chapters which is important for your exams, or which has been given by the council. Okay, I hope that you have understood with the chapter. Thank you so much.